Thank you, Ahava. I am recording this now too, just so you know. I pushed the record button. Hello. As I think Ahava said, I'm James Hennelly. I'm the director of RDA Toolkit, and I've been working on this redesign of the toolkit for almost 2 years now. And the reason for the redesign of the toolkit, just kind of as a bit of background, is much of the site, the way it's structured, its architecture, kind of behind the scenes, etc., was going to fall apart. We couldn't continue to support the number of translations we had. We were working with a very old, seldom used and highly customized kind of data architecture that had so many kind of what are called hacks or special little constructions in it that it just wasn't sustainable anymore. That with the impact of the new library reference model from IFLA kind of signaled that there was a lot of, this was the right time to begin to do a new version of RDA Toolkit and to update RDA in significant ways. So this is what led us down this path. I work very closely with the RSC, the RDA Steering Committee, and the RDA Board to get permission to do this and to get feedback and to set direction for this, what we've been working toward. What I can do today is show you kind of some of the features and functionality of the toolkit. I'm not officially a cataloger, so I can't get into really technical cataloging issues with you. But I'll do my best to show you how we've set up the toolkit and why we set it up the way we have, etc. I'll just add that we've tried to take in as much community input as we can. I have a small user group of about six people who have contributed closely to our goals, helping us set the goals and targets for this project. They represent catalogers from national libraries, from public libraries, from universities, folks who teach cataloging and train cataloging. So even among these 6 people, there's some diversity. And then, of course, I've had all of the RSC and their related working groups contribute feedback to this project as well, and others along the way too have contributed as well. So hopefully you'll see a product that our main goal was to really make the toolkit more valuable to the work of catalogers and better positioned to grow into the changing technology and changing demands on those who catalog resources. So the first piece of this, you're looking at the homepage now, and I might add that I recently put up a demo. This is from our blog. We have a new news section here on the homepage that pulls in blogs, and I uploaded a new video, which will be much like what I'm telling you today. It's a little demo. It's about 40 minutes, taking you through the toolkit, and we'll repeat kind of what I'm doing this morning. But because it's bigger, wider, it pushed the columns over. I didn't expect that to happen. So this first column is much narrower than it would normally be. So that's a surprise to me. It's something I got to work on a bit. And that's kind of an important segue into, this is a beta site. It's still very rough. The content of the beta site is incomplete right now. The RSC is still working on refining the chapters, and some material's not even ready yet. And Same is true of some of the functionalities not fully developed yet, etc. But we wanted to get it out there and allow the public to give us some feedback on it and help us continue forward in the direction that we're going and make some better choices, etc., and fix problems. So we do have this. This is a new feature to put this blog material into the right column here. There's also an area for RDA related products, new books, or stuff that we have coming out. You can also see in the right column that we have sections for updating that tell you what instructions were recently updated or added. And then we have the login box right here. The login to the toolkit is essentially the same as it was in the old or the current RDA toolkit, the active RDA toolkit. We can use IP authentication that will take you right into, log you into our system. But then you would still have to log into a profile. You can also use the regular account ID login, which I'll show you right now, just so you can see what that looks like. Oh, and it didn't work for me, did it? Let's go back. Let me try this again. I'm going to type it in just because I'm concerned my saved password isn't correct. Oh, I know what I want to do. I don't want to do that one. I want to do this one. So this is the so this is what it looks like when I've logged into the system. So I can access all the instructions if I want. You can tell by I have my institution name up here, American Library Association, and you see a profile button up here in the at the right now. And if you mouse over it, you get either control profile account or log out. This login box doesn't change because you can still log into your profile. This was a little confusing for some people. I understand that, and I think we'll make a change to add profile login here, or maybe change the color of this background color of this box to make it work better for to make it have a more impactful change, so a more noticeable change, so you know that you've logged into the system. The one change we have made, I've logged out now, is that now we can allow you to log in with just your profile name. So you don't have to do the double login anymore. You can just do enter your profile name, username, and your profile password, and that'll log you in directly into the site as a whole. So here you see my institution, ALA, and my name, James Hennelly. It says, welcome back, James Hennelly. And it gives you a list of instructions that you've recently used. This was, this is again is a feature that the user group brought up, that they wanted to be able to go, you know, they get logged out of the toolkit, they want to be able to go back right to where they were working when they were, say, distracted from their work. So they can come back here and see what articles they were looking at in recent history, and just click on those and go right back to them. So the nav for the toolkit is substantially changed here. We have nav buttons across the top. The first one, entities, lists all the RDA entities in what we call LRM order. It's Library Reference Model order. This is how the order in which they're discussed in the LRM, or presented in the LRM. And then from these entity files, and we'll go into this shortly, you can then go into the element articles. So instead of being structured like a workflow, as in the old toolkit, where you do this, then you do this, then you do this, it's more of a data dictionary approach, where we're giving you the entities, we're giving you the related elements, and everything's kind of organized around those elements, etc. We do have general guidance chapters. These again are still, these are probably the area where there's the most further work needed. We may even be adding entirely new articles here, but also these need to be fleshed out a bit more. The policy statements, this is where policy statements will live. You can see there's just 2 listed there. The whole set that we have on the current toolkit will be here. But the policy statements aren't written yet because the policy statement writers haven't had a chance to really evaluate the text and start to begin to write new policies. So what policy statements we have here are just some sample test content to show how policy statements will function in the new toolkit. And we're having some issues with that right now that I hope to fix this week. It'll be working better after this week. And then we have resources. This includes some official RDA content like the glossary, vocabulary encoding schemes, relationship matrix. This section here, this middle section, these you may recognize. These are all topics that were part of the appendices in the current toolkit, the current structure of RDA. That's where these have moved. And then we have some other what I call non-RDA content, like books of the Bible, terms for medium of performance. We'll probably add we will add a CR2 in under this resources tab. So if we go into one of the entities, we'll go into work. You're going to see this is pretty much what a typical page in the entities section of the toolkit will look like. So you're going to get definition and scope, pre-recording section. And in these sections, you'll notice already some links, some cross-links. So some of these cross-links or cross-references, as you would expect, you click on the title and it'll take you to that page. But in other, you'll also notice that there's a little icon next to each of these links that has a little like window with an arrow in it. And what this is it's a preview for the articles. So instead of having to click through and go to the article, if you're not sure it's going to be meaningful for you, you can preview it. You can look at it here in the right rail, and it'll give you that content to evaluate and decide, well, I want to look at that or not. So, and then we'll click on the X to make it go away. And you can have multiples of these open, and they will just simply overlap on each other. And then you can just close them. Also each article in the entities element section will have this recording area with the 4 different recording methods. There's an unstructured description, structured description, identifier, and IRI. Now, work is an entity article, and it will have this section on elements. And what this is just a list of all the elements related to work, which is, you can imagine there are quite a few. And you can scroll through that list, or you can go here and type into the list if I wanted to look for a particular element. So creator of work, there it is. Before I leave this page, I just want to point out, well, actually, I'll go to the next page. So I'm going to go to creator of work. And again, you can see here's the definition and scope section. We added this new, what we call element reference piece. This little blue rectangle. Click it, it opens a special section that includes metadata, if you will, or just information about that particular element. So it's going to give you the IRI from the registry, the RDA registry. We'll give you the domain and range of the element. Alternate label. This is the inverse of the element. User task that this applies to. Recording methods that are associated with this element. And then I'll also give you the mark mappings, the potential mark mappings for this element. You can see it's a fairly long list here. So I know the mark to RDA and RDA to mark mappings in the current site are an important tool for our users, and we do intend to recreate that in some form, but we're not prepared to do it in the rich and robust way that we have in the current toolkit right now. So in the interim, this is the solution we come up with, is to drop these mark pieces into this element reference display, and those will remain there for a while, but we'll also come up with a more unified and effective display in the future that will be probably fall into the resources tab of this new toolkit. And then after the element reference, and you can choose in your preferences whether you want to have this open or closed. Right now the default is that it's closed. So we go in, here's our pre-recording with links. You can see it has some special notes and lists here. And then you'll see that we have these example boxes. So we have, you click on those and you see examples. And these are the same examples that we have in the current toolkit for the most part, but we've also added several new types of examples. So one of the new types that we've done are these recording method examples. So here we're under recording and unstructured description, and there's an unstructured description example, Kansas Geological Survey. If we go under structured description, you see it's the same example, but it has a recorded related agent source for it, so that brings the structured element into it. Its VES is Library of Congress. Then we have an identifier example, and this number represents in Library of Congress the identifier for Kansas Geological Survey. And then finally we have a IRI from the Library of Congress for the Kansas Geological Society. So the examples of the fourfold path are consistent throughout. You can see those and compare them. Actually, I said fourfold path. That's our old kind of working title for this recording methods. I meant to say recording methods. We've also added two other types of example. One is a relationship example, and this is a linked data expression of an example. So you can see the example expressed here in words: Bern, Switzerland, Canton, Notariats, Gazettes, has creator of work, Bern, Switzerland, Canton. And then it gives you an identifier for the subject here, which is this first part before the italics begins. And then you have the predicate here stated, the element has creator of work. Here's the URI for that. And if you click on this, let's see if this works. I'm not even sure if this works. Yes, it does. It takes me to the registry and the information on that element. Okay, has creator, you can see. And then, of course, there's the object, which is, again, Bern, Switzerland, Canton. So this visualization is for kind of educate people about linked data and how it works. And then we have a view in context example. So these view in context examples will pull together a range of related elements that you are typically going to record together, and it'll highlight the specific element we're looking at. So you can see it in the context of a larger recording about a resource, what you would record about a resource. So these are the examples that we're working towards. Not every element will have a view and context example or a relationship designator example. Certainly any element that doesn't relate to linked data won't have a relationship example. But we're trying to add these where they're relevant and most useful. In the few days that this new beta site has been up, we've already gotten some feedback that there aren't enough examples. This, of course, comes as no surprise because we've been working so hard on the text and the tagging. One of the big parts of this whole project is just we're working with an entirely new tagging set and site structure, and we've had to do a lot of experimentation to figure out what exactly to do, how to resolve a lot of issues regarding that and presenting this new content. So we haven't had the chance to develop examples as completely as we would like, but we do intend for there to be many, many, many more examples as we continue developing this redesigned site. And in the long run, our intent is that there will be many more examples than there are in the current toolkit. So just be patient with us on that front. And then finally, at the end of this, you have related elements. It states broader elements and narrower elements here. Finally, one of the nav pieces we have are these previous and next buttons. So this would be the previous button. This would be the next button. But what they do, they say what the element is that you'd be going to next. And within an entity, the elements are arranged by alphabetical order. So that's what you're seeing here. They reflect the data map that's been constructed. So that's, at least that's just the order that the RSC has put them in for right now. Over here in the right column, you see some hint of where policy statements will show up. Unfortunately, they're not working right now. Like I said, I have a couple sample policy statements that I hope to have working in the next few days, but they're not working right now. But here is the area where you would have a pull-down menu and you could select British Library policy statements or Library of Congress policy statements. They would display in this right-hand rail, much like these previews display. They would look exactly the same, but they would be policy statements. And they would be scrollable within the window here, this right rail window. So you could actually look at the entire policy statement without navigating away from the page. And this is one of the key goals of the site too, is to integrate our content in a way that makes it more useful to our subscribers and reduces the amount of toggling and clicking through and clicking around the site that's required. One of the other features on the page is you can go and add, you can highlight any piece of text. If you just highlight it, you'll get this little toolbar that pops up. This first one is a bookmark. I just click that and I get a bookmark, add new bookmark box. You can give your bookmark a title. You can put it in a folder. This is one of the new features we added. Is that you can organize your bookmarks or notes into certain folders, so you can find them more easily. And then we also allow you to receive notifications. So you can sign up to receive notifications that we've made a change in this, that the RSC has made a change to this page. And so you'll get a notification on the home page that says, you know, this page has been updated. You should check your bookmark if your bookmark is no longer relevant or has moved or something like that. So, and that's the functionality we're working towards building right now, but we can also, when we get into this next one, let me try this again. And like I said, you can do this anywhere. So I could go down here and do the same thing, and I get the same menu pop up. So this one's a note. The bookmark simply leaves a mark. It's an anchor because you say you want to come back to this spot regularly. This other one is a note, and it allows you to write some text that accompanies the book, essentially a bookmark with text to it. So you can give it, again, you can give it a title. You can share it. You can keep it private, or you can share it locally. And by locally, it means it gets shared with anyone within your account, within your subscription. So if your institution has a subscription to Toolkit, when you share something locally, that means everyone in your institution who uses the Toolkit will see that note. So we see this as a way of kind of doing policy statements for local use if you wanted to do that. Again, you can make folders for it. This is where you write the text. This box is expandable. And you can even put links within that box, I think. And again, you have the option to get notifications. So again, if the page changes, if the RDC makes changes to this particular content, you'll get a notification that it's changed and you may want to alter your note. We could also set this up further down the line. I'd be interested to hear feedback on it. If there'd be interest in saying, if I change this note, that you guys would get, anyone who has access to the note would get notification that there's been an edit to the note itself. So that's something we're not doing quite yet, but it's something we could do. Oh, and then the last item here is to get a link. So if you are working on some sort of documentation and you need a link into the toolkit, you just choose that link icon. Looks like a little chain link, and you'll get this URI or URL for that particular link, and you just hit copy and you have it. Okay. So those are some of the basic features of the pages that you'll have, and these are true for guidance pages too. Guidance pages aren't, they're a little more irregular. I got to work on the log out time on this. It's been a little too quick. But the guidance pages are pretty straightforward. They're not as regularly structured as the entities and elements pages, but they're there. One other thing I should mention is that, let me go back to an entity page. I forgot to mention this. One of the things that's incomplete and we haven't started work on yet is there will be a graphical browser that appears here on the right column, at the top of the right column. It's going to be our main. Hello? Are we all there? There'll be a graphical browser, a graphic representation of how works and or entities and elements relate to each other, and you can use that to kind of move around the toolkit. It'll show up as kind of a little thumbnail, a kind of large thumbnail, I should say, here in the right column. But you can click on it, and it'll open into a bigger window that you can easily read and navigate around. That will probably not be ready though until the fall. All right, I want to go to the search. Typically the default on search is search all, and in the old site we had, the quick search was in the top browser, and it only searched RDA. Now we've brought that up here. We've made that quick search searches everything in the toolkit. That's the default. You can search everything right from the start. Or you can click the little drop-down menu and choose to do any type of, you can narrow your search to just RDA or just policies. or contributed documents. In the old toolkit or the current toolkit, we call it workflows, but now we're just calling it documents or contributed documents. And then we also have an exact title search. So I just want to show you what a search page looks like. So if we go to all and say I type in edition statement. I'm a really bad typist, so you have to bear with me. And I hit search. You'll see I get search results, and this is telling me that I got 28 hits in RDA documents, and it's displaying the first 10. This is here's a note on addition statement, which is an element. Addition statement, which is again an element. This little number in here that it's displaying, that's the instruction number in the old toolkit associated with this element. So you can search by instruction, an old instruction number. I'll show you that in just a little bit. But you can see here's a glossary term, etc. So you can see the mix of types in here. And you can filter for those types. I can filter for just entity articles or elements or glossary or guidance chapter references or resource references. And of course, then you would also see policies and contributed document hits. But of course, there are none because none of that stuff is in the toolkit right now. And again, you have some filters for that stuff as well. Now, if I do the same search under exact title, it'll take me right to that exact match. So I go right to the excuse me, element that I searched. So that's just an option if you know exactly where you want to go and you just want to get there and don't want to go through the result hits. That's what you can do. Excuse me. As I said, we can do a instruction number search. So if I do 211, I get copyright date, which was the old where you would go in the current toolkit to get copyright date. I just want to say not every instruction number will give you the result you're hoping for, and you may need to use basic search functions like the wildcard to kind of say, well, I'm not exactly sure where that instruction might be recorded or land. If you have a really long number and you're not getting hits, you probably need to just start cutting back on it and simplifying the number more, and you might get a hit on something relevant. Obviously, one of the hot topics that's already popped up about this toolkit is that we don't have instruction numbers. It's not that we're against instruction numbers. We're just not sure how to do it in a way that's efficient. The current way that we do it is really a product of numbering for print products, but it's not sustainable in a digital environment where we're more frequently updating and changing things, because changing numbering that's unpredictable in its order is not really possible. So we're hoping for feedback and ideas from people about how we might do it. We're exploring a couple other ideas, the RSC. I think we might get into a position where, say, under an element, we have numbering for sections and subsections, maybe some options. You see here, there's a lot of options in the toolkit now. A lot more options than there were before. So we're looking at ways of maybe just doing some numbering within an element page or something like that to help people, because we do understand that there's a need to for kind of shorthand, for citation and reference in written text and in speech, for people to communicate what they're talking about. So we're exploring that. We're not saying that we'll never put instruction numbers in. we're really just trying to find a good solution and still exploring it. So, and we're hoping that as people use it, something will kind of organically emerge as, oh, this is a good way to approach this. So, so I want to talk about just real quick the little things you see up here on the very top nav bar or toolbar. The first one, I'm going to go from right to left. The first one is submit feedback. This is a button that's temporary. It's only going to be up there for the beta period. And it links to, I'll show you what it links to. It opens up a feedback form for you to give us, share your thoughts or concerns or questions or point out errors in the in the beta site. And so you just give us your name, your email, and there are sections here for 3 feedback items. And we ask that you choose a category for it, so it help us sort out where these things belong a bit more. But you enter your feedback, and there's 3 slots there. You can submit 1 piece of feedback and then come back and do as many as you want. But we do want to hear your thoughts and ideas about the new toolkit. The one thing that I ask you not to report through submit feedback is a broken link. We get daily reports from our system architecture about links that are broken, and we're already working on fixing all the broken links. You just have to be patient with us. But you don't need to report every broken link to us. There's a broken link right there. So we'll get to that, but anything else is we're happy to. So you can comment both on the toolkit functionality, but also if there's something in the text, the way the text is written, the implied cataloging practice within the text, or if it's unclear, you can comment on that too, because this feedback will be shared with the RSC, so you can get into specific cataloging matters if you like. Right now, the site is only available in English, but we will have all the translations that we have on the current toolkit available, hopefully in short order, although probably not short order, but in the next 6 to 9 months. And then and you'll be able to switch languages. This is your site language, so you can change the user interface language that you're seeing. You can change the RDA language that you're seeing, the content that you're seeing. You can also switch to a larger font here. You can click on that. Oops, again, it knocked me out. Like I said, it's a beta site. It's still a bit buggy. So that's you're seeing right now is the larger font size. I'm going to switch it back to normal. There we go. The help section hasn't been built yet. We haven't been able I haven't found time to write that yet. So that is to come. Hopefully by the fall we will have that up and running. I'm going to jump over here to Bookmarks and Notes. This is where you'll find the bookmarks and notes that you make with the tool I showed you earlier. Here's how you add a new folder, and they'll all be listed here and allow you to edit them, etc. This is the documents section. You can create a new document if you click on here. This is the interface for creating a new document. This is an HTML editor. So you have the usual, you have these macros that look like word macros, but they're not. Just so you know. So if you copy and paste a Word document in here, some of your formatting is going to get kind of messed up, just so you know. You can go and work in the source file for this if you're comfortable working with HTML and manipulate things that way. Otherwise, we have these macros that you can use. We also do, we are looking into, it was brought up, the idea of basically uploading a PDF into the document space. And so we're looking into that, but that will probably something that will come later, probably in the fall, if we can do it. Here's the usual information you can choose for title. You can author. You can add authors too. This is a major change that we've made to this document. This tool is that in the current toolkit, you can only have one owner of a document, and that only that person can edit it. So now we've allowed that you can have multiple authors, and those people can share the document and work on it together. Although they can only work on it one at a time. When you open up in a document for editing, it locks it, and no one else can come in and work on it. But then you can check it back in, and other people can follow up on your work and add to it or make changes, etc. So, this subscription administrator can go in and assign a document to different people if they choose. All of this stuff, I should note, the bookmarks, notes, this document thing requires that you have a profile in order to do it. So I strongly encourage everyone to have a profile. We have a range of languages available. This just tells you what you're writing, tells the system what you're writing in, so it'll give you the proper keyboard responses, etc. And we have everything. So that's the document. That's the create the document. I want to go back to Then also we have this. We have more and more documents, of course, can be globally shared. And when something's globally shared, that means it's accessible to everyone who has a Toolkit subscription. So it's beyond the local and the private, obviously. And anything that's globally shared will show up in this subscribe database. And right now that list in the Toolkit is really long, and you have to just scroll through it. It's alphabetical. This one, what we're doing is we allow you to search it, and you can then go through and subscribe to the ones that you find are most valuable. You can filter, you can filter by type or language or institution. And when you subscribe to a document, you can subscribe to a specific document, a single document that you find is really good. Or you can subscribe to an institution that creates documents that is important to you. So if British Library had a collection of documents that you really liked and you just want to make sure you have easy access to all the British Library documents, you can subscribe to British Library. And then finally, I want to show you these views. This is an important concept. That's really not fully developed yet, but we're working on. And it's one of the big kind of part of a major part of the long-range vision of the new toolkit. So this is where you can go in and set your preferences for policy statements that you see. You can check the ones that you want to see. You pick one that's your primary policy statement. That will be the first one that will display at the top of your of the instructions when you're going through the toolkit, when you're going through the RDA content, and you can choose to have them always open or closed. You can filter on the same with examples too. This isn't working quite right yet, but we'll get it right soon. You can have the interface, the element reference interface open. Down the line, we can even add more filters here. We could set it up. We'll have to look at it down the line, but that we can filter out. If you're not interested in recording identifier instructions, you can have those hidden the whole time so they're not interrupting your view of RDA instructions, etc. So those are one of the things. And then you can have multiple views. And one of the things you can do is you can set the access on the view. Right now it just says private, but we will have one that's institutional. So your staff leader can come in here and set a view, set up an arrangement of the instructions, etc., that she or he wants to have for her staff. And that can be the default view for the whole staff as they see this arrangement of the toolkit. And then individual members can come in and set a private view that kind of either builds off of that, starts with that basic thing, but says, okay, clone the institutional view, but I'm going to add a couple little tweaks. That's how I like to work. Obviously, you can set your language of preference here, and then you can also set your template. Now, right now, template only includes RDA standard, which means just everything we have in RDA is what you see. But in the future, because of this restructuring of RDA and the new architecture that we have behind it, we will be able to apply different filters to RDA instructions and create different ways of organizing the instructions and policy statements to suit a particular need, say music cataloger or the needs for cartographic resources, et cetera, like that. So you could switch to an RDA template that was like RDA for medical cataloging, or RDA for music catalogers, et cetera. And you could do that kind of subject matter specific type presentation of the RDA instructions. Our goal is that hopefully RDA will become useful to other cultural heritage institutions like archives or museums. And so we could put together a view of RDA instructions that's tailored specifically to the needs of those communities. So that's something we're working towards in the long run. And here you can see where you can create a new view. So this is kind of the direction we're going with the toolkit. There's still a lot of work to do. We don't see the 3R or the this 3R project being completed for probably another 6 months. We're still working on the English text, and of course translations and policy statements need to be written and added to the toolkit. And as I described, there's a lot more functionality to be added as well. So there's a lot more work still to do. So your feedback is valuable. Anyone who has anything to share, please do so through the submit feedback button. Or you can also contact me directly. My email address, I didn't post it here, is jhennelly@ala.org. Or you can reach me at rdatoolkit@ala.org. Okay, well, if you have a toolkit subscription, you can access the beta site and take a look around. And if you don't have a toolkit subscription, you can sign up for a 30-day free trial, and that'll get you access to the beta site. So